All right, here's our video today. Brown adipose tissue. Bat. Like Batman. It's brown fat. And brown fat, unlike white fat, because white fat is, it stores energy. It stores calories, white fat. But brown fat burns calories. It burns energy. And they call that thermogenesis. So we'll talk about the benefits of brown fat today in this video. Now again, this is not a medical video, so talk to your doctor of the things you hear today on this video. Alright. So brown adipose tissue, over here we'll put brown fat. And it's very beneficial. Like I said before, it burns calories. And it's activated with the equal sign there. It's activated by cold temperatures. Cold temps. And you may hear about people diving into the ocean and so forth, or having these devices where they can get really cold. The thing about it is it's not extreme cold, which we'll talk about. So what brown fat does, it breaks down glucose. So let's get a clean page, by the way. Yeah, a clean page. Alright, so let's write a list here. So it's going to break down, so we know brown fat, and the reason why it's brown, by the way, is because it has a high concentration of mitochondria within the cells. So it's brown, the color, write this down here, the color comes from mitochondria. And you know mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You probably heard that all through high school, maybe, and middle school, going back that far. The powerhouse of course, because we know mitochondria makes adenosine triphosphate, ATP. In animal cells, it also does it in plant cells, but plants also have chloroplasts. So that's where we get the color. And like I said, we'll put a little arrow. We know that it burns glucose. And of course, it will burn stored glucose in your liver and muscles. And we'll write that down too. And it's going to generate heat. That's why I said earlier in the video, thermogenesis. Thermo means heat, right? Like a thermos. And genesis is like the origin, right? You know that. So again, the color comes from mitochondria. It burns glucose. It generates heat. And it's activated. Let's write that down too. Activated by cold temperatures. Now, the thing is, the cold doesn't have to be extremely cold. You just have to get to the point where you're shivering, but not shivering uncontrollably. Just enough where you're shivering, and it doesn't have to be that long. 2 to 3 minutes is enough. 2 to 3 minutes is enough to activate that. Now again, talk to your doctor, talk to, whoever you're working out with and so forth before you start doing this. And if you are doing it, you should start slow, right? So 2 to 3 minutes is enough time. And again, if it's really cold and you're really shivering, that could be a problem too, because you could activate, especially if you're going for longer periods, you could burn more than just fat. You can start burning muscle. So again, when you're exposed to this cold, right, it's calorie burning, right? So the brown fat requires energy. So when you're cold, you need heat. And when you generate heat, it requires energy. So the brown fat is basically consuming calories that would otherwise be used in the common fat, which is white fat, not white cat. And there's been a lot of studies in this, that people with active brown fat can have significantly increased metabolic rate during cold exposure. So again, these are the benefits of it, but you should speak to a doctor. And by the way, you don't have to plunge in the ocean. You don't have to have a cold shower. Just even lower the temperature, right? So if you lower the temperature in your house, let's say your bring it down to 57 degrees or 66 degrees, around that, 65 degrees. If you're feeling chilly, but you're not shivering uncontrollably, just you feel a little chilly, that's enough. That's enough. And if you're exposed with that, even for a long period of time, mild cold, 2 to 4 hours of mild cold, that's enough to activate brown fat and increase energy expenditure. So keep that in mind. Now again, you could actually build this up over time if you constantly repeat it. Cold acclimation, that's what they call it, right? So 2 hours a day, over months you can see probably a lot of benefit from brown fat activity. Now when you're exposed to it, let's just write down this chemical term. We'll put a little box over here. It's called norepinephrine. Sounds like a fancy word, right? Write it over here. Norepinephrine. Spell it right, first of all. That is the chemical, it's the primary chemical signal to activate brown fat. And brown fat will immediately start to consume glucose and fat to produce heat. And of course, this whole thing again is called non-shivering. Gotta fix that in there. Non-shivering remember before? Thermogenesis. Our pen's making a lot of slants today. And by the way, again, just some studies have shown that they were doing these in animals, by the way, that if you have a acute, like prolonged exposure that causes heavy shivering, you don't want heavy shivering. Heavy shivering can lead to an increase in muscle protein breakdown, and you don't want that. You definitely don't want that. So again, you do want some cold temperatures, but not where you're shivering uncontrollably. Even though they say non-shivering thermogenesis, you do want a little bit of a shiver there, and not for that long a period of time if you're in the shower. But if you're in your house, just lowering the temperature, again, maybe bringing it down to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 17 degrees Celsius, that could help too. All right, and that's our video today.